All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Shakur Stevenson responding to Chris Colbert's loss to Hector Garcia last night, and it was predictable and hilarious. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Man, big upset took place last night, or in retrospect, not that big, depending on what you thought about Chris Colbert heading into his fight with Hector Garcia. Before I get into that though, please let me welcome you back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for your support on the channel. I know there's a lot of different boxing channels that you can watch, and I really do appreciate when you come chop it up with about boxing with me. Also, let me say, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you can get notified of when we release more videos, and hit all notifications. Otherwise, you'll just get them occasionally. Also, if you do wager on sports, please feel free to take advantage of the promotions that we have at busr.ag/Fanon. And use the promotional code Fanon to get those benefits. All right, so let's get into this. The 130-pound division had a title eliminator fight last night between Chris Colbert and a late replacement named Hector Garcia from the Dominican Republic. And in a fashion that was unexpected to everybody, I assume, other than Shakur Stevenson, Chris Colbert was dominated in the fight. I didn't see very many rounds he won at all. Heck, he didn't have anything. He couldn't stop Hector Garcia from doing what Hector Garcia wanted to do. Hector Garcia looked like the more well-seasoned fighter. He looked like the stronger puncher. He looked like the better conditioned fighter. He looked like the fighter that had the better game plan. Just all around dominated Chris Colbert in a fashion that I didn't think would happen with a guy at that level. And the response that Shakur Stevenson had was, yeah, I told you so, right? The guy is all talk, right? If you're not familiar with who Shakur Stevenson is the current WBO 130-pound champion that is going into a fight with Oscar Valdez to unify the WBO and the WBC 130-pound titles, who's also from the same area of the country as Chris Colbert. I think Chris Colbert might be from Brooklyn, and Shakur Stevenson is from nearby New Jersey. So those guys fought, have been around each other, have known each other for a long time. Shakur Stevenson went to the Olympics and got a silver medal in the Olympics, where Chris Colbert did not go to the Olympics. He wound up turning pro when he was like 18, 19, something like that. But however, both up and coming 126, 130 pounders at the same, around the same time. And Shakur Stevenson pretty much, he fell out with Chris Colbert a while ago and was saying that Chris Colbert is not all that. He'd waxed Chris Colbert, this, that, and the third. And I got to tell you, from what I saw in that fight yesterday, there's a long road from Chris Colbert to get from where he is to get to where Shakur Stevenson is. And I don't think that the biggest issue in that is the talent level of the two fighters. I think Shakur Stevenson is an immensely talented fighter. I think Chris Colbert is an immensely talented fighter. But the difference between the two of those guys is that Shakur Stevenson looks like he has a game plan, looks like he is dedicated, looks and sounds like he is dedicated to the sport of boxing. And Chris Colbert looks like a raw athlete who relies primarily on his athleticism and his talent, does not necessarily have a very good game plan or a set game plan going into the fight, does not sound like, when he talks outside of the ring, like he is consistently trying to get better at the sport of boxing than he is right now. He sounds like somebody that, when he talks, has one foot out the door in boxing and one foot in. Like, for him, boxing is a necessary evil for him to achieve the other things that he wants to achieve in life. And the reason that I say that is because before the fight, and I've heard him say these things above, previous times, and with Brian Custer, when he's interviewed by Brian Custer, he was saying, that he doesn't plan on fighting any longer than when he's 32 years old. He said, and Brian Custer asked him, do you love boxing? And he was like, no, I don't love boxing. I mean, you're getting beat up, you're getting punched, you're this, that, and the other. You don't play boxing. You're in there with a guy that's trying to hurt you. I'm trying to hurt him. And this is not something that you want to do forever and ever. I'm not trying to stay too long. He's got his chicken franchises that he's talking about, open, a chicken franchise and all of that type of stuff, where if you listen to Shakur Stevenson talk about what Shakur Stevenson is trying to do, Shakur Stevenson is very, very set. Like, look, I love boxing. That is what I'm doing. I have my mind set on being the absolute best boxer that I can be. I'm in the gym always grinding, always trying to get better, right? He would go to Vegas and ask to spar Sean Porter, and when he pretty much was a smaller guy and early on in his career, and Sean Porter was like, man, Shakur Stevenson, I knew right there that he was somebody that's very serious about being a really good fighter, and that's something that's exceptional. And I just don't see that attitude with Chris Colbert. Also, I'm not going to go off and not give Hector Garcia his credit for that win, but Hector Garcia came out after that fight and he was like, man, this dude's just not a very good fighter. I mean, that was his take before the fight took place, and that was his take after the fight took place. He's like, man, I'm about to beat this. Before the fight, he's like, I'm gonna beat this guy up. After the fight, he was like, look, he's not a top tier fighter, right? Isn't it? He was almost like he wasn't even impressed with himself beating Chris Colbert. He was just looked at Chris Colbert and said, I don't think he's that good. And then he went about proving it, and that's what it is. I think Chris Colbert could be a lot better fighter than he is or that he showed. But again, going into this fight with Hector Garcia, he sounded as if he was, kind of like where the Teofimo Lopez mindset was when he was going in there with George Kambosos, talking about all kind of stuff, not necessarily related to the sport of boxing, right? Talking about how he was getting, Sprite, I don't know what he had, like Bud Light commercials or Bud Light sponsorships and Under Armour sponsorships, and how these other guys don't have their, they're not where he is because he's out there working to get sponsorships and endorsements and all of that stuff, but not talking about what he was going to do in the ring to become a better fighter. Right. And that's what it looks like what was going on with Chris Colbert. And over time, man, that's going to catch up to you, man. You're not going to stay. You're either going to get better or you're going to get worse. And honestly, man, he looked like he may have taken a step back in his career because he's just not out there really serious about grinding and serious about his sport. And it really did show, in my opinion, in that fight. And Shakur Stevenson was dead on when Shakur Stevenson was like, look, man, this guy, I'll mop this guy. Those right now, for anybody that doubted Shakur Stevenson was significantly better than Chris Colbert, no time to doubt that anymore. Also, I will tell you that Chris Colbert will probably get knocked out by Oscar Valdez. No joke. If the way that he fought last night against Hector Garcia, Oscar Valdez would stop him and probably brutalize him and stop him. So dude's got a lot of questions he's got to answer for himself, and a lot of improvement and things to change before he can get back, to having people consider him, what they were considering him before this fight. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.